Hello and welcome to the Council of Moms. I'm your host, Lisa Valentine Clark. We love the Council of Moms because it's a time for us to come together and to share the laughter, the tears, the advice, the lessons learned, the resiliency created, the family and the love that is behind what we do and why we do it. Also, the tagline, Council of Moms, hang in there, sister, is the sentiment that we're feeling right now. Hang in there.
Can't hold on anymore.
Yeah, seriously, just hold on.
What's
One
the
more
Wilson
time.
Phillips? Yeah, I was just going to say Wilson Phillips.
Hold on for just one more day.
Wait, do you know the sign language? People can't see what you're doing, but that looks
I know.
really, really good.
I'm a big proponent of interpretive dance, and I feel like I want to emote the dance as I'm hold on for one more day.
Ooh,
If you are listening to this podcast, wherever you listen to your podcast, you can jump over to YouTube and see my interpretive dance from time to time.
You won't be disappointed.
Like and subscribe. Thank you. Thank you. Also, Council of Moms, you got questions? We got questions. Mainly
More
questions. But some answers, but always more questions. And as
They may
always,
not be the right answers either.
No. Or the right questions.
Yeah.
But we'll say them all. And it will be an exhaustive list of questions. The Council of Moms, made with real moms. I'm a real mom. I'm Lisa Valentine Clark, mom of 5. My kids are baby adults learning how to live in this world. I'm learning how to launch them off into the world, and together we just might make it. Also here today we have...
I'm Liz Palmer-Bastian. I'm a blended family mom of 8 kids. My kids range from 12 down to 3, and there's a lot of them. I have all the grades, and yeah, I'm just happy to be here.
My name is Ruth Aguirre. I've got 4 kids ranging from 13 down to 6. I am in my sourdough era, but the dough needs to be flexible with my schedule. So
I love it.
That's who I am.
I love it. And finally, last but not least,
I'm Hilary Craner, and I've got 4 children. They range in ages from 9 to 17. And I just really feel like I was hoping I would get more sleep at this stage, but I don't know if there's a point in motherhood when we do get more sleep. That's kind of that's the consensus that I've come to.
yeah.
But it's busy, it's chaotic, but it's also the best. I'm really liking this stage of life so far.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for being here and for coming together to answer these questions. We get these questions from our listeners over on YouTube in the comments, also on Instagram in the messages. We listen to and we read everything. And this one is a doozy. It says, "Hey moms, one of my older kids has decided they would no longer like to have a relationship with a member of our extended family. There are a lot more details I can't get into, but I am wondering if anyone else has experience with this. I understand both sides of the conflict, but I feel stuck in the middle and I don't know how to handle the resentment which seems to be building in our family as this goes on. What do I do?" How do we help out this mom? This is a real question and concern when you're talking about if one of your older kids doesn't want to have a relationship with a member of the extended family. How do you handle that as a mom?
I think it honestly depends on so many different variables, right? Because I am like, okay, I have so many questions
Let's lay
with
it
that
out.
question.
What do you, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, what do you think? Yeah, I do too.
Because my mind goes to all sorts of things, right? Like, is there a safety issue?
Right.
With that extended family member?
If this is an issue of abuse, very clearly, then no one should. Yeah, there should be clear boundaries and
For sure.
and not a mix. Absolutely.
Right. I'm like, is there a safety issue there? Is this a conflict that was unresolved? Like, So yeah, I have a lot of questions.
I know. There's follow-up questions about that. Absolutely.
For sure.
And I think one thing in any scenario is that validation goes a long way, and giving your child, your validation that how they're feeling about that particular family member is valid to them. And the the mom that asked this question said that she understands both sides. And so that's really hard when you're kind of stuck in the middle. And it's also hard to not make it seem or appear that you're favoring one side over the other. Yeah, this question is hard because we don't know details, but I think validation probably covers whatever scenario there is. And I think that goes a long way with your kids, is just being there to be able to talk them through it. And, but also, there also has to be those discussions of, I haven't chosen to cut this person out of my life, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm choosing them over you.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes
that's a big concern for the kids.
Yeah.
For sure.
And sometimes you need to say those things.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Out loud, and not have them be implied.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I like to, I have a 13-year-old, so that's my big kid. But one of the things that I've been doing more with them, it's really funny because once they understand this, then they start teaching it to their younger siblings. I'm like, oh, that's great. But just about the prefrontal cortex.
Yeah.
Now, I don't like science, but when there's moments of science that can help the child understand themselves better, I'm all for it. And that prefrontal cortex isn't developed. It's still developing. And what that means is that, because I'll explain it, what this means is that your ability to see that the choices that you're making today have consequences for the future is really limited because it's still developing. You're just living in the moment. And that's totally normal. That's exactly what you're supposed to be doing because that's how much development you have right now. And I think with helping the child understand how it all works, relationships in general, and that their choices, can have this consequences, I think it just will help them to understand if the mom chooses to continue to have a relationship, with that extended family member that the child currently is cutting off.
I appreciate you all acknowledging the fact that details in a situation like that actually do matter. She's saying in this question, I feel this resentment building. That's when I want to shut this down. How would you handle that part of this question?
Like her own resentment is building? Like between
that's
mitigating
how I
both of them?
interpret it. And I'll just give a short example of in an extended family, I have had one of my children say, I just don't feel like so-and-so likes me. I feel like they're always saying judgmental things to me. They sent me this, giving examples where I've said, ooh, yeah, okay, how would you like me to help you handle this? Would you like to help me facilitate a conversation? This is with one of my adult children.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't, and it's very, obviously they do care.
Right. If not, they wouldn't have brought it up
I
to
don't
you.
care, but they don't want to do anything about it. And there is, as I think time goes on, a little bit of resentment because they see each other less and less, to the point that I don't know when the next time, because it's a member of an extended family, when they will. And in my case, in this experience, I haven't noticed that resentment has built, but I have noticed that it has shut the door. Neither one of them is seeking out the other to have a relationship. Now, in an extended family, how vital is that? I don't know. The way that I feel, I think it's really important. I think you should have really great but I'm sort of pie in the sky with that when it comes to relationships anyway. So in order to not build the resentment, I have found myself saying things like, trying to see from the other side, this person is good. I'm validating both people of they're trying their hardest. They're different than you because of these reasons. They might not have meant it this way. I don't know why, but I feel like I have to say some things about it. I'm not sure speaking on behalf of another person, though, is the way to go, to be honest.
Can I just say it's really hard to be the go-between? I'm actually the go-between between a sibling of mine and a parent that I have.
Oh,
And
wow. What's that like?
it's very contentious, and there's
Yeah, that's
obviously
hard.
not a one-time event. And if it was like a one-time event, it'd be a lot easier to do what you're saying, Lisa, and just like look at the things and be like, well, maybe they didn't mean this. But when there's
Yeah.
like a history,
Yes.
it's
Good
a
point.
little more difficult. So I am the go-between, and there is burnout for being the middleman. And one thing that I have to do is ask each person how they want, like, one, communicate, like, how do you want to handle family situations that involve my family, where I invite both of you? Like,
Yeah.
what would you prefer? Like, how do you want me to communicate that with you? Like, obviously,
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you when the other person is coming, and they're obviously invited, but would you prefer to not, like, for me to, like, create outdoors activities so you don't have to be in the same room? Like, please tell me
Right.
what is going to
Yes.
make you feel comfortable. That said, I'm not responsible for your behavior at said events.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
you need to, if you're going to come, then you need to show up for my kid, right? Like,
Yeah.
or for our family, whatever it is. I'm like, you guys need to figure
Put
that
your
out.
feelings aside. Yeah.
Yeah. So having clear boundaries for myself when I'm the go-between has really helped out a ton.
That's interesting.
But like, yeah, when you have history, it definitely makes things a little more complicated. And I can see why there's resentment, because it's not a one-time event.
Yeah,
Right.
And nothing's more personal than families. Can I just tell you that?
Yes.
Oh, it's so
Nothing's
true.
more
Yes.
personal.
Yes.
Well, and I think that it's important to point out that we really live in a culture of canceling people out of our lives. I think there's sort of this trend that if somebody offends you or if something's done, that you can get rid of them
Leave them on
to
mute.
protect. Yeah, to
You know,
protect
this
your
is such
inner
a good
peace.
point. This is such a big point.
Yeah, and there was a video I came across. This therapist, her name's Raquel Hopkins, and I actually asked ChatGPT to help me summarize because I don't do a really great job. So I'm just going to read that because I feel like it's so good, especially if this scenario is based off of her child maybe being offended, not necessarily a safety concern or this history that we've talked about, but
Yeah.
so it says, we've created a culture that overprotects emotions and confuses discomfort with harm. Instead of building resilience, we reward emotional fragility, treating feelings as facts and labeling everyday challenges as crises. Boundaries are now often used to avoid hard conversations rather than resolve conflict. We prioritize emotional safety over personal growth, asking how to stop discomfort instead of what we can learn from it. But life won't always cater to our emotional needs. Growth comes from facing difficulty, not avoiding it. And I just think that is
yeah.
so good because, like I mentioned, the day and age that we live in, a lot of times if we have somebody that's treating us wrong, the go-to is just be like, well, I got to
them out of my
protect my
life.
inner peace. And
Yep.
so they are no longer part of my life. Rather than just doing the hard thing, which is having those hard conversations.
Yeah.
And maybe you've had those hard conversations and they've gone completely sour, gone the wrong direction. But just realizing that relationships are hard. Some of them are just really hard and they take work. And you have to ask yourself what family means to you and what you're willing to compromise, what you're willing to sacrifice or whatever that is to keep that relationship. And it might be that you're not willing to do any of that, depending on the situation. But I think it's good for us as moms to teach our kids when they're young too, that just to face the hard conversations.
Yes.
And,
yeah.
if they're having a hard time with a kid at school, a friend or something like that, rather than be like, well, I don't want you to be friends with them anymore, maybe help them through, help them, guide them what kind of conversation they could have with that friend to resolve the issue.
Right. Start young. Yeah.
I like that, Hilary.
Great point.
I always like to remind my kids and myself that I'm in charge of my own emotions, not other people's, including my kids.
Yeah.
And I think
yes.
motherhood is helping them to know how to
It's
do
hard.
that, right? It's hard. It's hard work because I think it's less vulnerable to just do that. Let's just cut them off in the name of inner peace and healthy boundaries. But we've kind of mixed that up. And like you said, Hilary, neglected that the huge benefit and skill of conflict resolution. Because guess what? Once they leave our nest and they face the real world, it is not
you just can't walk away from your team at work, right? Like that's not an option. Like you've got to learn to work with people.
So true.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I try to help my kids like, can I tie this to a real life when you're out of my home event to just help them again, because that prefrontal cortex isn't developed, right? I just try to tie it to some real life outside of my house experience that they may encounter to help them just understand why I'm trying to help them think outside the box.
Oh, I appreciate that. I also think that this is an opportunity too to have a discussion about what family means.
Yeah.
And how
definitely.
family is all the ways, the tricky ones and also the good ways that family is different than other relationships and what that means and what that looks like. And again, I do think it is a chance to have your kids, and again, like not necessarily as a go-between, but asking them questions that will help them to feel like what their values are. Like, okay, so this is what family means to you. So this extended family, what does a good relationship with extended family look like? When you have conflict, what is the best way to resolve it? What do you wish, that you could both do in a situation that maybe isn't happening right now, just to be able to establish that you're even talking about the same thing, of wanting that. When we say, oh, family's everything, family's so important. Well, like, what does that mean and at what cost? And again, this is also too, I think, like Hilary brings up a good point of when you cut someone off,
You're canceled.
what does that mean? You what?
You're canceled.
You're canceled.
When you're what does that mean? When is that appropriate? When is it not? What are the consequences, good and bad, of that?
Right.
Like, let's really talk about it. And again, I think sometimes when we don't know the answer, sometimes with our kids, our inclination is like, I don't know, is to back off. But it could be a chance to,
Step
in
forward.
the right circumstances, step forward, lean in a little bit, and ask some good questions that get them curious and them thinking about that frontal lobe of where do I want this? What do I want this? How can I build this into our family?
And this isn't a one-time conversation. This isn't a one-time conversation. I noticed that sometimes it takes several. Just let it soak in, let it marinate, in their brains, let them think about it. It's really interesting to just watch how amazing their brains are to really, especially as they're, getting ready for adulthood during those teen and older kid years, what happens, and trust that process. I would say that to mom because it's a tricky and hard situation to be in for sure.
Yeah. It's so tricky. Do you have any experiences of this where you have been the one that's like, oh, I want to avoid this extended family member or this, like, and how did you handle it? Like, personally, not the go-between. Liz, you're
I
laughing
don't know.
a
Are
lot.
they listening?
And I
That's the question.
I know,
You
right?
guys,
I'm
we
like,
don't
okay,
have
what
listen
can
to
I
this,
say?
or
this is for a greater good. We're trying to help.
Oh my gosh.
This is your friend, Hilary, your friend that has this issue.
Your really
remember?
close friend, Liz, that you're laughing about in your head. Hilary.
Okay, BFF chat. Are we
Ruth?
ready? Are we ready?
Yes,
Are we ready
lean
for
in.
this?
This is Council of Moms. This is a safe place.
Oh my gosh, I've totally been that person.
Okay.
Because I do have a family member that hasn't always been safe for my family. They plant different ideas into my kids' minds, and it's really frustrating for me. I can't avoid this family member for many different reasons. And
Okay.
yeah, and so I have asked other people that are related to just not blindside me when we're both invited somewhere. So I know because
Okay.
yeah, so I know what I'm signing up for that evening. Because I think when I'm caught off guard, it like shoots my emotions up.
Yeah.
And I get more defensive
good
and I don't
point.
show up authentically, as opposed to like knowing what kind of scenario I'm stepping into. I also, because this person hasn't always been safe for like I said, my kids, I can decide, like, is this something that I want to entertain for my family at this point in time? Are we in a good
Or
place
like
to
that
handle
day. Because if your kid is having a bad day and you're like, oh, we're not walking into this.
Exactly. That's why I want to be notified so I can make those judgment calls. It's not that I'm trying to like forever blacklist a person, but I do need to think about like where my kids are at, and if one day they'll realize, certain behaviors weren't okay and where those thoughts came from, because I want to safeguard my kids. And it comes from a good place, and I'm sure they mean well too. But right now, the communication isn't there, the support isn't there. So therefore, I have these things that I've asked of others to like let me know and be aware of. Right?
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
See, I told you, I'm totally that friend.
This is why you're great on the council.
We appreciate it. I have been in that situation a couple of times. And one thing that I've learned is sometimes you do need a period of separation. Not necessarily make it, forever or final, but sometimes you just, because emotions are so heated, having those hard conversations would not be smart, And
Yep.
so there have been times when I just have to take a few weeks or months, depending, whatever it is, just to kind of cool off until I'm ready to have those conversations. And so I think, that you should keep that in mind as well, that while it's important to discuss things, sometimes you got to just wait until you cool off a little bit.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's good advice too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Ruth, have you ever been in
cool off, all of
this
it.
situation at all?
I've just been what
No,
Liz
Ruth
mentioned,
is
like,
the level-headed
mediator.
one. I know. She's the one
She
that's
knows
gonna
how to
keep the
emotionally
peace.
regulate. No.
Yes, that's
I've been the one-
her gift, the peacemaker.
I've been the one put in the middle, or as the mediator.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
helping each party understand what's happening, the emotions, the high stake emotions that you're not ready to talk.
Love that.
You need to get
Peacemaker
this
Ruth
under
over there.
control.
I know.
Must be nice.
We need them.
Must
Teach
be
us
nice.
your ways.
Seriously.
Seriously.
Yeah.
What do you think are the questions that you ask as the mediator that get the biggest response or make the biggest shift?
I think it comes back to what Hilary was saying too, because all of this deals with emotions, right? Emotions is what drives relationships. And so I think validating those emotions to some degree in the moment with what's happening is important, because I think to some degree that's what we're seeking from the other party. We just want to feel understood, that you get me, that you see me. And I think what happens is that we're busy trying to solve, or in my case, what I've seen, right, in my family is the fear, kind of behaving out of fear, like, oh, well, maybe I won't tell Liz who's coming, so that way I can get them in the same room, and maybe then they'll work it out and it'll all be fine, right? When
don't do
fact,
this.
You're like, I'm getting nervous.
It's going to be really bad, right? Because it's really, I mean, I don't know about other cultures, but Latins, we love to just embed ourselves in all the things and try to fix it. But I think it really is just a lot of self-reflection and work. Where is this emotion coming from? Why are you feeling this emotion? Right. And
so you mean helping other people process that, right? Is that what
right. Because when we're looking at anger, because anger tends to be one of the big ones, when we're in conflict, fear, not fear, anger, and just resentment, all those things are kind of like what we call secondary emotions, right? Because it's protecting our primary emotions. Behind the anger, behind the resentment, there's something else happening. Sadness, loneliness, hurt, right? And it's really being able to get to a space where you can say that without letting anger all of a sudden override the conversation.
Yeah.
So,
Love that.
yeah, just trying to get into
I will
that
say
headspace.
there are some people that you'll never be able to have that conversation with.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
Ooh.
Yes.
Their thought processes don't work that way. Any type
Yep.
of like feedback that way is viewed as a criticism, and they
Yep.
will just, shut down. And that's okay.
Absolutely.
That's when you have to establish like what's good for you and like your family and live by that. But still try to not, cancel people out
Yeah.
if it's unnecessary, right? Like
Right.
where you can still coexist.
Yeah.
I love that, Liz, because, what if it's your mom, right? And not necessarily like you have to have a close relationship with your mom. But again, let's say the situation isn't a safety issue or mental health issue. Sometimes it's just acceptance, like you're saying, this person has a history of being this way. Can we expect radical change, or more emotional availability to be there in conversations? Maybe not, right? And so for the person to some degree to have a relationship, if they want it, there has to be some radical acceptance of understanding like, okay, to expect this person to be those things, like you were saying, Liz,
Yeah.
is maybe unrealistic. But what kind of relation can I have that is okay for me and meets the goal of what I want to have with this other person?
Oh, well said. Thank you. I know this has been a difficult question, but I appreciate you guys being vulnerable and honest about answering it in a way that gives us a lot of tools, I think, to like think about this if we find ourselves in this situation, either as the go-between, as the person. And as always, too, I think that like when you're having a really hard time with a question, being able to have some friends that you can just say, okay, help me think of this in a different way. Help me to, like, how have you helped, like,
Yes.
is a real gift. It really is of being
It
able
really
to
is.
workshop that, to be able to take it and say, okay, this is how I want to handle this the best way that I know how. And I think that's one of the benefits that you have graciously done today. So thank you so much, Liz, Ruth, and Hilary, for sharing that, for being part of the Council of Moms. And thank you so much for listening. For those of you listening, you can watch over on YouTube. You can listen to this podcast wherever you listen to your podcast. But as always, please share the Council of Moms. Like it, subscribe to it, send it to another mom, another dad that you feel like, hey, this has got some information and a different kind of perspective that, you are going to get something really great out of. And please send us your questions, too. You can comment here or DM us on Instagram. The Council of Moms is a production of BYU Radio. And as always, the Council of Moms made with real moms. Thanks for being here.